If you are one of the millions of Americans scrambling to file your taxes by April 15th, don't expect much help from the IRS. They say things have gotten so bad for them, they are ignoring more than 60% of taxpayer calls.
The underfunding of the agency is the most critical challenge facing the IRS today. As the serious ramifications of 5 years of budget cuts become increasingly visible, I don't want anyone to say that we didn't warn you in advance.
Don't want anybody to say we didn't warn you. With more on this, Heritage Research Fellow for Tax and Economic Policy, Curtis Dubay. Curtis, welcome to the show. So 100 million people try to call the IRS every year. This year, 60% of them won't get their phone calls answered. Why?
I think there's two things going on. First is the tried and true Washington Monument strategy. The IRS is upset that it had its budget cut, so it's taking that out on the American people by delaying service. Look, to which I say, boo-hoo. Look, you acted illegally by targeting certain Americans. You're lucky that Congress didn't cut your budget more. You've shown no remorse for what you did. You've shown no effort to clean up your act.
But
so
wait
you're lucky
wait a minute,
Curtis,
that's contemptible. That's not how you respond. You're supposed to be an agency serving Americans. And let me tell you, you're going to have to explain exactly what you mean here by the IRS doing things they shouldn't.
Well, they targeted certain conservative groups for extra scrutiny during the 2012 campaign. It's going back to the scandal that's been going on for a couple of years now. The Obama administration, the IRS, has done nothing to clean up that agency. And because of that, they deserve the budget cut that they got. The Obama administration did the same tactic during the government shutdown back in 2013. And they're playing it out again with the IRS, trying to put heat on Congress for cutting their budget. The second thing that's going on is that
Go ahead.
The second thing that's going on is that the IRS is trying to administer a tax code that is tremendously complex. It can't be administered by any agency, and that's Congress's fault by not reforming the tax code and by making it so complex.
I agree with that.
Which one is a bigger factor today?
Let's unpack a few other things here too. Okay, we've got a lot to get through. You mentioned the IRS budget. Let's take a look at that budget. How much it's down? $10.5 billion in 2005. Bumps up to 12.1 in 2010, then 2015 it's back down again. Now, Nina Olson, who's the taxpayer advocate, she says you got enough money to do what you really need to do, and what you should be doing is serving taxpayers, helping taxpayers. But that's not what we're getting here, Curtis. Look at the telephone service record here. It would take you 4 minutes to get your call answered in 2005, 19 minutes in 2014, a half an hour or more this year. That's the projection. This to me just says the IRS, they don't really care. It's, you know, they're angry, they're upset, and they don't really care.
Well, I think, no, they're trying to hurt taxpayers because they want to show Congress and say, hey, look, you're cutting our budget and we're mad about it. The other thing, too, is their responsibilities, I'll give them a little bit of slack here, their responsibilities have really grown in the last few years, mostly because of Obamacare. And so there's a lot of pressure being put on the IRS by Congress.
But let's not let them entirely off the hook here. And let me tell you why. They sent $5.2 billion to identity thieves this year. I mean, think about it. This is a lot of money that could have gone to regular Americans as refunds, and they're sending it to the wrong people. Seems to me that's a problem the IRS could solve for us. Do you agree?
They certainly could. It's always a choice of resources. There's a lot of resources that go into auditing corporations. There's a lot of resources that go into making sure individuals are paying the right amount. And there's a lot of resources now going into making sure that the subsidies for Obamacare are the right amount. There's probably not enough resources to go along. Around at the IRS. If it was a normal situation, I'd probably be on the IRS's side. But because of the illegal activity they engaged in, I have no sympathy for them.
98% of taxpayers, it's voluntary compliance. We are not a nation of scofflaws. We pay our taxes. We should get some respect. That's what I believe. Curtis, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Glad to be here.
And now we want to know what you think. Here's our question tonight. Have you had trouble getting through to the IRS for help? Log on to GerriWillis.com and vote. I'll share the results at the end of tonight's show.